Mario.
Woohoo!
Hello, it's me, Mario.
Hey, Mario!
What do you do? Number one. Oh, and Wario, have a rotten day. I forgot to say. I said it and I like it. Why, what about Waluigi? Baby Mario, let's go. Yippee! Hello. Hi, what a pleasure to be here. Wow, you've overwhelmed them. They're really taken aback. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. I'm always very grateful to Nintendo for giving me the opportunity to play the parts that I've loved for so many years. I'm grateful to the show to bring us out here, you know, but mostly I'm grateful to you because your love for the video games is what's given me 33, now 34 years of absolute joy and traveling the world and doing what I love to do most. And it's what I wish for you, is that you find what it is that gives you joy and happiness and fun, what gives you a passionate love of life, and you follow that heart of yours to find your joy, your happiness, your fun, whatever it is. That it could be driving a truck, could be doing voiceover, it could be writing scripts, you just never know. But when you follow that direction of joy and happiness, I think it just naturally brings it for you. So that's what I wish for you. You're right.
Woohoo!
You're right. I always wanted to take... Had a voicemail?
Yeah.
Hello, it's me, Mario. Woohoo! I can't come to the phone right now, but leave your name and number, and I call you back as soon as I get here. Oh, wait for the beep. Beep! It wasn't the beep, it was Mario. Okie dokie, here we go. Woohoo! Something like that. I'll be doing voicemails later.
Hi, Charles.
Hello.
Thank you for what you did earlier today for me. But what was your favorite Mario game to speak?
The voice in?
Yeah.
That's a great question. You know, I'm in 168 games. So that's a lot to choose one to say that's my favorite. But really, for me, Mario Teaches Typing was a big change. Because, yeah, that one, in that game, I read the copy and it said, you know, the good one said, oh, you know, great job, you did well. But then when you fail, it's like, you failed. You had to go back to the beginning and start all over again. And I'm like, can I change that? It doesn't sound very nice, you know. So the producer said, sure, go ahead. I said, that was great, but I know you can do even better. Let's go again. Yippee! And it was that taught me in my mind the character essence that I wanted was always positive, always supportive, always respectful. And it's what it's the core element of the character of Mario for me is everything that I want to be as a man. You know, loving, protective, caring, trustworthy, honorable, all the time, loyal, faithful, you know, all those adjectives that tell me something of goodness at the heart. And so that's the ideal person to me is Mario. And then every other character I do goes a little bit off from that. You know, Luigi has courage, but he's terrified and scared, but he has to work through it to get to that courage. You know, and Wario and Waluigi, they're always just, they're naughty, but they're not bad. You know? So all the things that they try to do to somebody else always falls back on them for a silly result, you know? And that's, I view my life as always trying to pay attention to the whispers in life. When I was first in acting school, I remember a guy had a stutter. And it was a pretty pronounced stutter, you know, I'm Paul, you know? And, you know, and I asked him, you know, have you always had this stutter? And he said, no, on my 21st birthday, I went to Las Vegas with all my friends. We went to dinner, and there was a comedian, a very acerbic comedian, you know, and, you know, he said, you know, the lights came up after the main course, you know, hey, we got a birthday boy today, 21 years old, stand up, kid. And I stood up, and he goes, oh, never mind, sit down, look at that ugly kid. I had that fat kid and the pimply face, sit down. And he said he kept making fun of me, and every time he would make a joke about me, it would make me feel smaller and hotter and sweaty. And he said, and I woke up the next morning with a stutter, and I've had it ever since. And to me, that was the lesson in life. never will I ever make comedy again at someone's expense. You know, so you won't find me doing an ethnic joke or a racial joke. Yeah, I guess that means I'm the worst thing in the world, woke. Respectful of other human beings.
Oh, the virus incarnate.
But that was the long answer. But you know, for me, Mario 64, Mario Teaches Typing, Mario Fundamentals, because it was so silly in Gallery. And then I would say Sunshine might be my favorite of all time.
True.
I have to go back and start again, and I never make it very far. But I can usually find out the princess is not in this castle. But then I would say to Super Mario 3D World, you know, and Odyssey. So there are a lot of them. Thank you. Long answer for a very nice question. Thank you.
Answer.
Yeah. Hi, Charles.
Hi.
Nice to see you again. Woohoo! So, I have a question regarding voice acting. In my spare time, I try to practice voice acting, kind of like I think you've mentioned before, by talking to yourself, making fun, making voices. But what I've noticed is I tend to do voices I already know, like yours, for instance.
Yeah.
And my question is, how do you get inspired and come up with new types of voices to do in voice acting?
You know, that's a great question. How do you do new voices and new things? You know, you just keep doing it all the time. You know, you might see a picture. You know, oftentimes when you audition for something, you see a picture. And you might see somebody with little beady eyes, and you might see someone with a big jaw, and do that. But then you might also do the opposite, you know? I always did the opposite. Like Mario was supposed to be, I crashed this audition. An Italian plumber from Brooklyn. Yeah. Get out of my face, I'm working here, you know. Yeah. I'm under your sink here, don't bother me. But I didn't want to do the obvious. Yeah. And I didn't want to be like, I have to play this all day long. I'm very practical. I don't want to be like, hey, get out of here. You get out of here. You get out of here. You know, I thought, make it more fun and joyful. So it just came to me that I had done an Italian accent before. Yeah. Gremio and Timmy and Shrew. Make it younger, make it happier, and just talk about food, because I don't know anything about video games, you know? So, hey, let's make a pizza pie together. And pretty soon it just went on forever, you know? So it's just really, you can also watch a dog. You know, I was mentioning, I think, to you that, there's a traditional way of, make your demo tape, do your classes and everything. And you can do your classes, learn everything. Yeah. But you can also, in today's marvelous age, create a YouTube page, create a TikTok profile, and every day do a video. I met a filmmaker in Florida a couple of weeks ago. I said, what projects are you working on? He said, well, I don't know, I've got to find a project. I said, I've got an idea. Let's make it 365 projects for you for this year. Every day shoot something. Yeah. Every day edit something. Every day, because, it's like live and breathe your art so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready. Yeah. Because if you're sitting there waiting for the opportunity, but you're not, sharpening your knives, sharpening and honing your skills, the opportunity will come, but will you be able to make a character that lasts the same voice all the way through the project and has character arc and character transition and character transformation? So practice, 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 do, and new voices will come to you. Because you'll go, oh, I've already done that voice. Oh, I've done that one. Let me try something different. Challenge yourself to be the artist. And do it in every way, I think Sir Ian McKellen was talking about dance home, write a poem and then rip it up and throw it away. Because what you've done is experienced, you've lived the art, and now you're releasing it, let it go. But the preparation for when the opportunity knocks is so important to keep yourself going, And so for me, it's like, well, get a TikTok channel every day. You can videotape a bird hopping along. You're like, hey, I'm really fast bird, really fast bird. I'm the fastest bird in the world. You just keep doing things. Just let it come out of you. The biggest danger for all actors, and really for all of us in all the world, is watching ourselves, listening to ourselves. Wanting it to sound right, wanting it to look right, wanting someone to go, that was good, wanting the approval as opposed to just doing it. The analogy I love is a dog chasing a ball on the beach. When a dog chases a ball on the beach, He's not going, oh, I wonder if I should walk kind of halter sideways or go faster.
Yeah,
Maybe I should go not too fast and look elegant. No, he's like, ball, I want a ball, I want a ball. You know,
He just goes, yeah.
Throw it again. You know, and that's all he's doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I mentioned to you know, I was sitting in a studio and you sit there watching people, you know, going, like this, and then you see him get on the phone and you go, oh my goodness. They said I'm terrible, and they're calling the next voiceover talent.
Yeah.
No, they're saying, I don't want to have pita bread again today. Let's have a pizza. Okay, hey, we want a pizza. But in your brain, you're working things out. You're trying, and that's how you're not being the character.
Yeah.
Instead of being in that moment. But that's the same thing in life. When you love, when you genuinely love, it's not buying flowers, taking out to dinner, renting a limousine, dressing up. Those are the trappings and the sort of like the image of it. The reality is the really caring, the really being supportive and caring, loving, you know, trustworthy, and that takes time. And
Yeah.
it's not falling; it's becoming aware that you're in love.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that awareness of being that is the key to all things in life, acting or not acting.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how to do a short answer, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But that's how I got the job. You know, they said, you know, you start talking and when you run out of things to say, that's your audition. And it's 34 years now and I haven't stopped. So,
Yeah.
you know, oh, and they were going to make a rest of the Donatello. You know, and some other mom keep making up pasta.
Yeah.
Right
Hi there.
here.
Oh.
Hi. Hi, I'm Elmi. My question is, do you have a top 3?
I have no idea if I did the monologue, but in the end people said, wow, how is it that you're not nervous when you do it? I'm like, what? So are you kidding me? So I fell into acting, and it terrified me. But it was finding a way through my fear of finding what I love, which is having a touch on people's heart. And for me, the way I wanted to create Mario was to always touch the heart.
Yeah.
To, I guess, to always get in touch with your inner child.
Yeah.
The joy, the love, the happiness, no matter what your age, no matter how long you play, no matter how many controllers you tried to break, you know, to always remember the magic of love. And to know that I have touched people's heart is, to me, what a joy, what an honor.
Well said.
Hi, thank you for signing my N64
Oh, sure.
cartridge, first of all. You know that your voice has been passed to Kevin Gadi. How was it by passing that Mario? Was it?
Well, that's not something I can really talk about, actually.
Okay.
That's not something I can talk about, but I appreciate this. I understand, I haven't heard his voice, but it's a nice rendition. So that makes me happy. You know, the thing is, I want people to keep playing, and if they ask me back to do voices again, I'll be thrilled to do that. But in the meantime, you know, we should all keep enjoying and keep loving what we do. Absolutely.
Right here.
Hi.
Thank you for signing my steelbook of the Super Mario.
Oh, sure.
I was wondering, you've also voiced Luigi, Waluigi, Mario. How did that casting process go?
That was so lovely. It just that's what I'm so grateful to Nintendo. Gift after gift, you know. I would go into the studio, or I'd go back to do. I went back to. We started doing Mario as Mario in real time. I was the first performer to do real time animation, which is like motion capture, those video games you play now. But it was with moving my facial muscles that would move the cartoon character muscles. So that was really fun, and I would go in, I went back to CES, and all of a sudden there was Wario, and there was Donkey Kong, and there was, you know, and I got to play those voices, and I was doing a tour of Walmarts that were opening, and kids would say, "Hey, can I please talk to your brother Luigi?" We didn't have one. I mean, this was like $1 million of equipment, and we didn't have a Luigi because it cost another $1 million to make a Luigi. And I'd say, "Oh, hang on a second, I'll get him. I think he's in the kitchen making spaghetti meatballs. But he's a little shy. Let me see what he says." And I'd turn the head that way and say, "Hey, Luigi!" And I couldn't move my mouth, because all these contacts were on my face. So if I move my mouth, then, I'd go, "Yeah, what do you want?" "Hey, my friend wants to come and say hello to you." "Or no, tell him I'm in the kitchen making spaghetti meatballs. Besides, I'm too shy." "Oh, he's in the kitchen making spaghetti meatballs. Besides, he's too shy." "Oh, please." "Hang on." "Oh, please." "Sorry." He says, "Sorry." And I noticed that when I was doing that, all the children that were standing in front of the monitor would look over off to the side of the room, like there's a kitchen over there. And so suddenly then I put my mom and dad over there, someone over there, and my grandpa over there. So I would get these kids looking this way and this way, "Don't touch that remote control, I'm gonna use that." "Oh, my papa says, don't touch the remote control." So I just would love this little tennis match. But then all of a sudden they said, "Well, we want to do Luigi." And I'm like, "Okay, here's Luigi, I've already got him." And then one day I walked in, I think it was Super Mario Tennis, and there was this, he's the nemesis of Luigi, isn't like Mario is the nemesis of, and I just, "Can you put a voice?" And I just, it seemed natural. When you audition for things, you often get like a drawing. So that you go, "Oh, I've got an idea. Those little beady eyes, or I got big shoulders, or maybe you got, I got big shoulders. I'm huge, Maybe you do the opposite. But for me, it's like, I'm on the clock and it's time to start recording. I don't know what we're gonna record. It's like, come up with something and come up with it fast. So they just let me keep doing that. It was great. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Øyvind from Norway, and I have a question in terms of for voice acting.
Sure.
How do you maintain your voice and prepare for each Mario project?
Well, whenever I'm doing a job, a voiceover job, like a Mario job in particular, there are different stresses to the voice. But if we're doing like all the characters in a game, then I'll start with Mario for the first recording sessions, because it's hardest to do the falsetto, and keep it up. And after 4 or 5 days, it's harder to get to the falsetto. So I do Mario first, and then I will do Luigi, or the babies, and then Luigi, and then Waluigi, because it's nasal, and then Wario last because it's throatal. But for me, it's like the preparation is, don't drink red wine. Hydrate yourself a lot, stay away from alcohol and just keep hydrated. And I hydrate between each take. Now, mind you, my take is supposed to be A, B, C, woohoo, 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 and I'll just go, woohoo, woohoo, I will do that until I hear, stop it, we got it, we really got it. Oh, and I'll go, can I just try one more time? Okay, try one more time, and then I'll do another 50 of them. Because I always wanted Nintendo to have at least 1 million sound files, and I'm sure they do. But, for protect your voice, I once went into a job.
True.
And the guy wanted to do like 3 takes of 3. And then listen to them, and then do another set of 3 takes of 3, and listen to it and do another 3 set of 3s. And it was a game that was all screaming, it was like a Lord of the Rings kind of game. And he said that, and I thought, well, wait, that's 9, 18, 27 full-on screams, and the script is this big. I said, I'm sorry, I have a responsibility. So if Nintendo calls me and says, we want you to do a Mario job next week, I can't be debilitated. What if we do 1 set of 3, listen to them, and if you have it, we're done. And then if not, then I'll do a 2nd set of 3. And it was the only time I would ever do just like 3 takes. And I mean, this is how the guy looked at me when I said that. No one had ever said no. But I have to protect my voice. I have a responsibility to everybody to do that. And you know, I was doing tours, I was doing all kinds of things, so I didn't do it. And I said, if you need to fire me, I completely understand. He goes, no, we'll try this. And we ended up doing the thing, and I was exhausted, and throat was exhausted. But there was another actor that I knew, a nice, really nice, very talented announcer in particular, but also character actor. He didn't say no. He bled from his vocal folds and could not do another job for 6 months.
Wow.
So, always respect yourself. Always take care of yourself, you know? There's such a thing actors just want so desperately to do it, but you've got to also clock yourself and go, okay, wait, protection. Am I going on too long? I'm going on too long.
Absolutely not.
Were you here the whole time? No, I'm joking. He goes, you know, you've got to want this more than anything in your life because it's suffering. You're going to suffer every day. The rejection, the no calls from your agent, the pain of losing a job. That, you know, if you don't bleed voiceover acting, and you're not able to suffer for your art, then get away, stay away. And then it was my time. I said, I have a slightly different perspective. Slightly different. To me, you can create completely from joy and completely from happiness, no suffering at all, because what you bring to an audition is yourself and your take on it. And that's the you. You know, every dog is different. You're chasing your ball on the beach, and you're just finding that element of you that it gives you that freedom to do that, you know? So it's not, you know, you can create from joy and love and happiness. It doesn't have to be the dark lady of the sun. It doesn't have to be the Rodin, the Picasso, the people that are just, you know. It can be like, whoa!
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so
for
much.
all of your questions.
Thank you.
Martinet.
I'm going to be back at my table for a little while longer if anybody needs autographs or photographs.
Yeah, if you say hello and get an autograph, this is the moment. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Colorful times. Charles Martinet.